your two hosts, Carlos and Dylan.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? We're back for another episode of SwampCast. Now, happy Tuesday afternoon as we record this because the Gators got stunned by USF as we lost 18-16. Did you get a feeling, Dylan, that we were going to get beat? I know you were at the stadium, so that's why I asked these type of questions, because through the TV, you still have hope that something's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, very early on, first half wise, I think it really started to creep up on us when we kept on, missing opportunities. I wrote an article about it on Gators on SI.
Yeah, I'm going to actually do a video based on your article tomorrow.
Yeah, I appreciate that. For the first half, we had 3 drives. They all got down to the USF 30. They all got in scoring position. First drive, Tony Livingston threw his hands. Should have been a touchdown.
Yep.
Second drive, 2 touchdowns called back on penalties on Florida. And then the third drive, they got down there in like 2 plays, had like 60 yards on 2 plays. And then they went 3 and out, had to kick a field goal. So I think it started creeping up then when you kind of see, they had a chance to put USF away. And that's exactly the game that USF wanted to play. They wanted to stay in it, and then get a knockout blow like they did. So, I mean, I had hope, especially after that VB3 punt return. I thought that was where we finally were like, all right, breathe, relief, it's over. And we saw how that turned out. So it wasn't a great feeling inside the stadium.
Why is Billy Napier so stubborn on calling plays? Because USF players, I don't know if you've heard this, but they knew what was coming before it happened.
Yeah, I've heard. I saw that. I think the same thing happened after Miami, and it's not something that you can really argue. I mean, I'm not saying that Florida, that was every play. I thought Florida had a ton of plays where they should have had a successful play and they didn't execute. But, with Napier, I mean, that's kind of his background. I know at Clemson, he was, the play caller before he got in college football, especially as a head coach. You have to be confident in yourself. You have to be confident in your scheme. If you're running out there and you're not confident in yourself, then that leaves, the team won't be confident and you'll see problems. So I give him credit. He needs to be confident in himself. But at the same time, I think, it's year 4. The offense has never been explosive. I was willing entering the season to give him the benefit of the doubt that, we didn't have his guys yet. Our roster wasn't talented enough yet, but there's so much talent on this roster to only score 16. I mean, I'll tell you myself that there was opportunities. He mentioned it a bunch on Monday, how it could have been 21-6 after the first half, and that would have felt a lot better. But at the same time, you can't go out there against USF and score 16 points and get upset with the talent on the roster. So I get that he's confident, but I don't know. We'll have to see going forward.
Do you believe he's too vanilla?
Yeah, I'm not going to come out here. I think a lot of people will come out here and think that they can, read an offense just by watching it on TV or watching it in the stands. Football is so much more complicated than that. You go watch a breakdown of the plays. There's a ton of good content out there of breaking down Billy Napier's offense. And it's not as easy as just, why did this not work? Because it was a bad play. So I can't come out here and say he's too vanilla. I do think that his offense has a tendency of, not being able to overcome adversity. You push your way down the field. Everything's going right. 1 or 2 things go wrong, and that drive is dead immediately. A lot of teams, especially when you're playing a team like USF, you expect, okay, we have a penalty here. We fall behind the sticks. We're so much more talented than them. We have the talent. to go get it all back. With Napier, it kind of feels like if everything's not executed perfectly, the offense is going to stall, and it's inevitable. And so I can't talk about vanilla because, I'm not this offensive great mind that, a lot of people are football, but I will say that that's something that I've noticed is, it's really disappointing when one thing doesn't go right and now your whole drive's over. When you have the talent.
A question I didn't drop on X for you, but should he have pulled DJ and given TJ a shot? Because I posted this on X and you saw it because we follow each other. DJ seems like he's rusted. He's rusty because they didn't even give him practice. Mental reps are not the same as physical reps. I think in third quarter, if you're behind and you're fighting for your life, give it to TJ. I don't think DJ would have been offended if he would have been benched.
Yeah, I don't think that. I mean, DJ Lagway is such a talented quarterback. Obviously, I mean, everyone saw it. He's not been himself. Even last week, this week, both weeks, he has not been himself. And I think, we all understand he missed the whole offseason. He's still getting back into it. I think there's we can definitely ask for more from DJ Lagway, but at the same time, that's a really good quarterback. I don't think there's any situation where you're taking him off the field. I mean, he just has, he struggled. We'll get that out of the way. He struggled. But there was plays that were not his fault. I mean, even looking back on that final pass on third down, they go the deep shot to Vernell Brown. That ball goes right through his hands. I think that was...
No, that's on BB3 completely. I agree.
Yeah, I think that was a perfectly placed ball. So, I mean, there was times where Lagway struggled. And that's the other thing is he needs reps. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think throughout that entire game, I don't think that Florida felt like they were going to lose that game. And I think everything had to go wrong for them to lose that game, and it did. But I don't think you're thinking, all right, throw in Trammell when we have LSU next week, and DJ Lagway is showing that he needs reps. You know what I mean? So I don't think that was ever a thought, and I don't think it should have been. It's just tough thinking back to now. Oh, he didn't get reps, and now it's.
Some of the questions I ask because of the fan base and because I see it on X, not because I want to be a pain in the ass, but
right, I get
some of it is the fan base asked for it, and you can tell. So I'm asking them because you're one of my sources.
I got you, brother. Don't worry.
Unfortunately, I got to put you on the spot, but is Billy Napier officially on the hot seat?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I'm not coming out here and saying that he needs to be fired like some of the fan bases. I think, obviously there should be an overreaction to losing to USF with the expectation we had for this season, with the talent that much. It wasn't necessarily, there was a realm of possibility where USF comes out and they show you we're super talented. Like, this is our year to be really good. And they just look good. And it's, UF is in a dogfight because they look good. I don't personally think that was the case. I think USF looked like a very solid team, but I think Florida did everything they could to lose that game, which really makes, it's a tough look on coaching, because if you're playing a team that you should be, you're playing in a season and you have the expectations to be super good, and you lose week 2 to a team that, is not on the same level playing field as you. So I'm not going to come out here and say that his time here is done. I think that, there's a long season ahead. There's 10 more games to be played. So, we saw last year. You can never count him out. But I definitely think he's on the hot seat. I mean, he needs to do a lot to prove that he can be the coach at the University of Florida in the near future.
Okay, next question to bounce off that one. Is 9-3, 10-2 realistic?
Yeah, I don't, you look at the talent, and it is. That might be a homer take, but the talent is all there. I don't think when I watched that game, I didn't think, oh, wow, Florida is less talented than we thought they were. I mean, the talent is all there. Vernell Brown III still made incredible plays. DJ Lagway was sloppy, but he was slinging the ball at times. You see why he has so much potential. Jaden Ball is an amazing running back. And, I mean, defense is going to get a lot of hate because they gave up, at the end there, that drive was super untimely and they gave it up. But they played a really good game of football, in my opinion. I mean, they kept USF to 6 points at half, even with a late drive. And I felt like USF, a lot of their drives were, I would give it a win for the defense. So, talent-wise, I think this team is still super talented. The question is, can Napier find the same stuff he found last year earlier? You know what I mean? I mean, you got to go in to LSU. And, I mean, it went from, all right, as long as they keep it close, 2-1 start to the year, but you keep it close against a really good LSU team. That's what we need to see. Now it feels like if you don't win this game, the season's kind of over. I think that's, the feeling. I wouldn't say, it is necessarily, but we need to see a lot more from Florida. We need to see an extremely close game. I mean, I'm not going to give it a must win, but it needs to be pretty close to that. And I think, 10-2 obviously kind of feels like off the table now because you look at that schedule. I don't think the best team in the nation, only loses one game in that schedule. I think, that's impossible. But 9-3, if Napier can just, settle some things out, if the offense can find a rhythm, it's not crazy to say with the talent, but you need everything to go right. It feels like at this point, I mean, USF was one of the spots on your schedule where you felt very confident that was a win. Yeah. And there's not a lot of other spots now where you feel hopeful, but we need to see a lot this coming Saturday.
I think even the FSU game flipped.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the back end of that schedule. Coming into the year, I think FSU felt extremely winnable. Tennessee, with their quarterback situation, felt extremely winnable. And now you look at those games, and they don't feel that winnable anymore. You know what I mean? You can flip that argument and say Texas feels a little more winnable with how, they early on. Yeah. And maybe Ole Miss, it's tough. I mean, the schedule is not getting any easier, that's for sure.
Any injury updates?
Yeah, we didn't get any really. I mean,
I heard LJ McCrae is gone for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, that was the big one. LJ McCrae broke his foot in the USF game, is what Napier told us. He's out. I don't know if I expect him back anytime soon. He's probably out for the year.
Wow. Big loss.
That's a tough loss, but I think again, Florida has the depth there. I think Jaden Woods was already the super exciting, guy in that group. Yeah. We have 2 solidified starters there in Sapp and Gums. So, that's a tough loss, but I don't think it's the end of the world. Other than that, we didn't get too much. I mean, Napier told us Wednesdays when the injury report comes out, the first one of the year. I think from that we're gonna get a lot of questionable. We're not gonna get a lot of out, injured, this, that. Yep. So we'll see with that. I think big one. My colleague Cam Parker mentioned this, that on that injury report is gonna be Brendan Bett. Do we see that he's suspendable? Napier has said they haven't decided yet if he'll be suspended. I think that one's a big one because, listen, I'm as mad as most people about that penalty. I think everyone in the locker room was mad. Everyone in the stadium was mad about that speeding penalty. But he played a good game. Yep. He played a good game week 1, and I think he's a really good ball player. So that would be a tough loss, and that's kind of one that is super avoidable. But here we are. There's no injuries too much. I mean, I mentioned last week I thought that Dallas Wilson and Caleb Banks were super close. I thought maybe they'd go. They didn't go. I think this is the week where anybody that can play has to play. So I think we won't hear about it till probably game time Saturday. But I think I'm leaning again towards Caleb Banks going and Dallas Wilson going, because this is, like I mentioned earlier, this is the biggest game of the season. So they need to go.
Any key takeaways from Billy's press conference, besides the fact we got to do better? This is a family. That's typical.
Yeah. I don't. It was hard to take away anything from even Saturday after the game, and then Monday. It kind of just was like I think he really started to he understood what was coming. I mean, he told the media multiple times, "You guys know that this isn't right. I know that this isn't right. The players know that this isn't right." He told us he's gonna do everything he can to right the ship. But I think my biggest takeaway was just there was kind of a shift in confidence, I would say. I don't think he lost a lot of confidence, but you can just tell there's something different. I wrote an article earlier in the year talking about he had his swagger back a little bit. He was, saying a lot of things where it felt like he knew that this roster was so good and he was expecting such a big year. And this week, as it should, because you just got humbled by USF, but it felt a little less confident. So, I think that's a win at LSU can get that confidence right back just like that. But, I think they lost a little bit as they should have against USF.
Based on you going to his press conferences and based on videos from the past, is he sounding like Ron Zook all over again?
I don't know about all that. I wasn't in the media during Ron Zook's time. I haven't seen too much from him. So I can't speak on a comparison there. I think,
where they can recruit, but they can't get to the next level.
I get it. I mean, listen, Napier's team is so talented where you start questioning, everything when he can't put it all together. So, I mean, I get it. I'm not going to dive too much into that because I don't know personally. I didn't really pay attention to Ron Zook, but I think, I'm not going to give it some time. There's 10 more games left in the season. You beat LSU, and this season is everyone's back on the wagon already immediately. So I'm still holding out hope.
Guys, I'm gonna do a plug, even though this video is gonna come out after the Ron Zook video. I have a Ron Zook video coming out. It's Billy Napier, Ron Zook 2.0.
We'll check it out.
So, next, you Scotland starting this week, or are we more backs against the wall?
Yeah, I mean, the backs are definitely against the wall. That's given after losing this game. I think already Florida, it was kind of like, Florida was to lose 3 games. You're still in the talk for college football playoffs. You might even be, depending on those games, you might even have been in the college football playoffs with 3 losses. USF was not one of those losses. That's not a game where, now it feels like Florida has to only lose 2 games all year, maybe 3 if you push it was early on in the season. But, there's a lot of stuff that needs to go right for Florida to make the college football playoff. I think I'm not out on this team just simply because everything went so wrong against USF that I don't leave that game thinking we're not talented enough to beat LSU and Miami and, the next couple teams. I think it's just about, managing those bumps in the road better. I think, if Napier's team can play a perfect game, and I think a lot of that happened last year too, where it was like, early on in the season, stuff went wrong and it turned into a blowout. Miami, you have a couple things go wrong, and now you're down 41-17. Texas A&M, same thing. And then later on in the season, we saw more games where stuff went right, and we snuck out some wins. So I think if everything, can go right, I'm not worried about, these next few games. I think we sneak out a couple wins in there, but that's a lot to ask for everything to go right, especially against, LSU super talented, Miami super talented, Texas super talented. So, it's definitely in the realm of possibility. I don't think I'm as confident anymore, for sure. But I didn't lose too much faith considering the talent we have.
Did USF beat us? Are they overrated, or did I shouldn't say us? Did USF beat the Florida Gators, or did the Florida Gators beat themselves?
Yeah, I mean, you got to give a lot of credit to Alex Golesh and USF. I don't want to come on here and say, oh, they're not, anything. They don't deserve any credit. They did exactly what they wanted to do. They wanted to keep Florida in this little back and forth game where it felt like Florida was winning the whole time, which it did. It felt like Florida, in the first half dominated, and it was 9-6 at half. It felt like, they wanted us in that spot where they could have one thing go right for them. And, that screen pass, one thing went right, and they go and win the game. So I don't think that USF necessarily is one of the top teams in the nation. I think that, it was more of exactly what they needed to happens. I mean, you look at even how they scored that 77-yard touchdown. Florida's players were looking to the sideline. Yep. They knew they got us. Yep. That was part of their strategy. Outplayed Florida. It was never like USF was on the same playing field of talent wise. So I think this Miami game, Miami USF this week is interesting to watch, because I think if Miami comes out there and is more disciplined than Florida and plays a clean game, I don't think it'll be a close game. But I don't want to take anything away from USF, but I really think Florida lost that game for themselves. I think that's pretty much, inside the building, that's what everyone thinks. I mean, it's definitely disappointing because it feels like, Florida played themselves and they lost. And it kind of feels like the season's, going to be a lot harder now because of it. And I'm sure they want that game back.
If Miami blows out USF, then I'll be like, okay, we got to put up a fight against Miami. But if USF puts up a fight against Miami, then and Miami still wins, I'll feel like, okay, maybe we can sneak 3 out of 4, maybe 4 out of 4. And if we do 3 out of 4, 4 out of 4, we're back in the top 10.
Yeah, I think that's the best case scenario is USF fights with Miami, keeps it close, keeps it super close. It's the battle till the end. Miami sneaks it out, and that gives you, looking back on your resume, they say, okay, USF was actually a really good team. Florida just didn't get the best of them. And then if you go and you find a way to beat Miami, they're still a top team in the nation.
Exactly.
And now you get that added to your resume. I think that's best case scenario if Florida wants to, obviously Florida has to do a lot for themselves, but they need a couple things to go right to even have a chance to make the playoffs. So I think if you're a Florida fan, you should be rooting for USF to keep it close, but Miami to sneak it out.
Exactly. Guys, now we're going to cover some stats quickly, and then we're going to do PFF grades. I know you sent them to me, but you want to cover the PFF grades after?
I don't have them in front of me. I don't have them in front of me.
Then I'll cover them real quick. First downs, USF 20, Florida 20. Third down efficiency, USF 6 of 16. Florida 4 of 12. Fourth down efficiency, USF 1 of 1. Florida didn't even attempt. Total yards, USF 391. Florida 355. Passing 263. Florida 222. USF 23 of 36. Florida 23 for 33. Yards per pass 7.3, 6.7. Interceptions thrown 1 for Florida, 0 for USF 3. So that was very close. Rushing attempts 29 for USF, 31 for Florida. Yards per rush 4.4 for USF, 4.3 for Florida, which is not what you want.
Yeah, definitely not.
Penalties, 9 for 75 yards for USF. 11 for 103 for Florida. That's another killer.
That, especially after week 1, where that was the huge, happiest you didn't let up a penalty. That's
possession. We won time of possession and we still lost the game.
By big, a lot.
25.47. Yeah. USF, 34.13 Florida. Almost 9 minutes.
Crazy.
All right, guys. Now, in terms of PFF grades, let me see if I can see these. If I can make them bigger. I'm going to read some offensive PFF grades. Jake Slaughter. He got 74 for overall offense, 51 for pass, and 84.5 for pass blocking. KJ Harris, 73 overall, 78.7 for pass blocking, 72.3 for run blocking. Tony Livingston. I'm not going to read them all, guys. You're going to see this in the video. I'm just going to read a couple more. 71.1 overall, 50.2 pass blocking, which is not great. For pass. Sorry. Pass blocking, he got 69.6. Run blocking, he got 65.7. And one more. And I'll have the editor insert this, and you guys can read it because I'll take all day if I'm going to read them all. Bryce Levitt, which is the one I wanted to look at because he was having a lot of issues. Where are you, Bryce? Okay, he's right here. Bryce overall, 68.8. That's yikes. So that's all I'm going to read to you guys. And you have any final thoughts, Dylan, before we get out of here for the post-game show?
Final thoughts is just, they better be better against LSU. It better be a close game or this season is done almost as soon as it started. So I think, fan base, take a chill pill. I loved in the season, just be in sit back and watch mode. Don't get too excited. Don't get too over dramatic. Wait till Saturday. Wait till overreaction Sunday to freak out. Is what I
Did
say.
You see the video coming off TikTok? You probably were there when it happened, but the whole student body was basically yelling for him to be fired, walking out of the stadium.
Yeah, well, that's been happening for about a year now. That too, you know what I mean? So, that I wasn't surprised by that, and I don't think it was undeserved necessarily when you lose to USF at home.
Yes.
But, give it. We saw last year. You can't count them out too early. Give it some time. I think if we start the season 1-3 is when it's time to go. So we'll see what happens.
You heard it there, guys, from Dylan Olive, my buddy, my friend. I call him family. Where can they find your work, Dylan? And the rest of the crew, which
yes, sir.
Support me, and I appreciate the support.
Me and the whole crew, we got good stuff coming out on Gators on SI. Also, me personally, Dylan Olive _UF on Twitter. And yeah, we appreciate all the support. Obviously, we appreciate you, Carlos. So everything's all good.
Not a problem, guys. And we have a special surprise for the pregame show this Saturday. That's dropping at 10 a.m. Somebody from the High Top Sports crew is coming on the show. I wonder who it is. And like always, stay positive, stay on the grind, and go Gators. Peace.